Good morning. It's been a while. I've had some adventures since I last spoke to you. An adventure being uh, my iMac, 2013 iMac was giving up the ghost. The hard drive was starting to go, so I took a 2 hour train trip to Taipei, lugging my iMac. And luckily for me, it's smaller. It's a 21 and a half inch screen instead of 27. So it wasn't as unmanageable as the bigger one would have been. But I didn't have the box, having bought this years ago. Can't, the boxes just disappear, get rid of them. Uh, so I did a makeshift wrap to protect it as well as I could. Took it to Taipei, thinking that it would definitely take some time to, I have to come back again to retrieve it. And so I booked a train in the morning, and then that late in the 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was going to come back. So I got to the shop and it opened at 11, and they told me, "Oh, we can't finish it by 2." And I said, "Hey," replace the HDD with the solid state SSD, solid state. Because the old hard drive was, like I said, at the end of the line, and I read how much better the new ones come with SSD technology. So it's quicker. Anyway, what an experience. And I'm back again. The day that I decided that I had to replace it, I tried my video 3 times, and each time it gets 6 minutes. Once I got as far as 12 minutes in, and it just died, and then just stopped. The picture froze, and nothing was saved. So this is an experiment, and see. I should be good to go for several years. Time will tell. But anyway, I was dealing with the fact that there's very little that's within our control. I mean, ultimately, we wrestle with self-control. And that's a daunting, any of you that have dabbled in this, it's a daunting deed, but it's doable. Whereas influencing anything else, at least you can influence, even if it's infinitesimal, but to change outside circumstances. Really, I've just kind of understood that it's outside of my domain. My domain is here, and my assignment, my chore, my homework is to deal with the outside from a state of equanimity. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. But again, I'm trying to help us with things that are within our control, are within our parameters of attempting to control, and what is outside, what's beyond the pale. And then on top of that, I'm really into reappreciating, learning to appreciate with fresh eyes, with a fresh start, the world around me. And not only the world around me, but what I have to do, what is my unavoidable task to not only survive, but to thrive. And to practice the discipline, practice my art of self-mastery, and then to share anything that I deem might be helpful to others on this same path. And I was thinking about the mundane. I've talked over and over again about really appreciating the ordinariness. And I heard that, chop wood, carry water, the old Zen precept, parable, about being in the now, being in the moment. And it's gotten so that, be here now. Kudos to Eckhart Tolle. But it's mundane, overused. It's not mundane, but it's become, it's like the word enlightenment. It's just overdone. It's loaded with so much baggage. Be in the moment. Be here now. That it's almost like we can pay lip service, but how about learning to really experience and appreciate what that means? So today's talk is about reinventing the mundane, the ordinary, reinventing it so that can learn to appreciate the beauty of what every moment brings, no matter what you're doing. And what I've found is that my experience of the moment is morphing, it's changing, it's becoming more full. It's like I'm finally getting what be here now means. And I want to share that with you today. Share that the changes, the glaring changes, because among my goals are twofold in doing these sharing videos. One is a kind of a documentation. It's an opportunity for me to verbalize internal experiences in the hopes that I can improve my ability to share through words, to express, to encapsulate, to attempt to capture. Sometimes very esoteric or at least elusive passing thoughts. And for whatever reason, the OCD I've talked about, mildly OCD, and I always obsessive compulsive behavior. I have this to a minor degree, and I find that I count. I'm on the second floor. It's 17 steps to the first floor, and I find that I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I count the steps. And this is just me. And I think I do a lot more counting than I really understand. But I started seeing that I could use my propensity. What we have to do is enhance or utilize at least our propensities, our talents, our innate processes of experiencing the world. So now I brought a deliberacy, and I don't know if the deliberacy will stay with me, but counting helps. And of course, I don't have to verbalize, it's internal, but let's say I'm doing something that was a mundane task, washing the dishes, or preparing food. Maybe it's a process, maybe it has more steps. Washing the dishes but preparing dinner. I cook my own meals. I cook breakfast and dinner, and I don't care for lunch much of the time uh, because I've developed a napping habit, and I find that I don't do well with food in my system, eating too much, too too soon before I'm going to sleep. So lunch gets eliminated, and I seem to be doing fine without it. This has been a habit of long standing. But let's say preparing my meal, which I've learned to really enjoy. I never liked cooking. I was always trying to do something else, watch TV, and just cooking was a chore. And then, as a practice, I thought, well, why not take, it needs to be done, and why not take a chore and see that if I can utilize, I can change my thinking about a chore or work. So I'm very systematic. I'm a very systematic sort of guy, and it works for me. So I'm systematic about my cooking. Systematic to the sense that it becomes habitual. And that's a part of my process again. I develop a system, and then I practice it, and it becomes habitual. The thing about habits is that you can do that either consciously or unconsciously. So in the practice of experimenting the moment and learning, reinforcing the knowledge that I have, that's all we have. There's no tomorrow, there's no yesterday. And if there is, show me. Where did it go? I can't find it. So, by default, this idea of now being all that we have resonates in its inclusivity, its sincerity, its ultimate correctness. So we're talking about cooking, just an example. And I have my habits, but I try to bring the habit from the unconscious or subconscious level to the conscious level, and I get involved in the process. And now I'm starting to understand that perhaps I'm experimenting, this is a work in progress, but I'm experimenting with experiencing the now this way. Because, again, learning to appreciate being in the moment. So cooking is a perfect example. It's a mundane task. It can be a mundane task. It can be work. Even thinking of it as a task. I bring more presence, and being present naturally generates almost a joy in the former chore. So this is a process of reinventing what had previously seemed to be the mundane. And seeing the magic of how the profane can become the profound. And again, cooking has offered me this opportunity. So, as a consequence, what I've noticed is that my long-term planning, my long-term projections towards future events, it used to be how far could you project? And now I'm seeing that the projection, the distance, the time-space continuum is increasingly getting closer to just that moment. Driving is another opportunity. Everything that you do is an opportunity to practice this, to elevate the mundane from the profane to the profound. And as a consequence, your life becomes more and more about experiencing, expressing, sharing, profound. The profound. So, how long? What I'm seeing is how long can I stretch? Is a moment elastic? Can it be stretched a bit instead of that? How can I slow down the moment? Can I expand the moment? Can I stretch the moment? In other words, how long is a moment? How long is now? These are the things that keep me busy. I was going to say that keeps me up at night, but nothing much keeps me up at night. I sleep pretty well. Lightly, but anyway, I have enough time that if I didn't sleep enough at nighttime, I can get a little bit more in the nap time. So I don't feel sleep deprived, which most, here in Taiwan and probably where you are too, I think 99% of the people around me are sleep deprived because of the pressure of, what's worse than going to bed knowing that you have to get up at a certain time to go do a certain thing, especially if these are chores. This is a process that leads to us to be stressed. And it's again about projecting too far in the future. I don't have any worries, honestly. I don't have any worries at all, much less about tomorrow. And even less so of yesterday. Did I make mistakes yesterday? Unless someone I'm not going to remind myself if I made mistakes yesterday. I just repeat my mantra that I'm a better man today than I was yesterday, and that I will be a better man tomorrow than I am today. Even though my mantra includes yesterday and tomorrow, which I've already shared, show me. But at least the concept of yesterday and tomorrow it's linear time. And linear time is not without its uses, or else we wouldn't have developed it in the first place, right? We would have been much more holistic thinkers about time. More along from the quantum physics space-time continuum. And Einstein, the idea that time can speed and slow down, and so that leads to rest. any of our concepts of about what time is. It's not a measurement, even though that's how we use it. And even in my mantra, I use yesterday and tomorrow only in the poetic sense. It helps the two ways. It helps me to forgive, to remember the lessons, the opportunities to learn lessons, and to forget everything else. And the future simply offers me an opportunity to continue my practice, to enhance, improve, refine my process. So if you stop, if you can begin to really appreciate the moment and experiment, like, can I stretch, how long is the moment? How far can I project without becoming an exercise in futility, an exercise into the realms of the unknown, the mysteries of what's next. And just as I mentioned about what's next, it brought to mind the great Korean Zen master that he gave a lecture at my university years ago. And I remember him walking around upstairs, and he'd ask, who is I, me, mine? Who is I, me, mine? Who is that? And ultimately, that was a beautiful story, and ultimately he dragged it out. It was very theatrical. He had done it very well, rehearsed, and he was in the front of an academic audience, so he would get all these kind of, some long-winded, you know how academians tend to get long-winded. They get enamored of the sound of their own voice, it seems. And I had an academic career, so I'm not out of the purview of what I'm talking about. I learned to get some enjoyment, but I never was a pontificator. I never had a point. If I had a question, I didn't phrase it so that I could try to express my thoughts about, didn't use it as a platform to a soapbox to preach, as so many academic question askers do. But anyway, just patiently, I hit you with the stick. And of course, in the old Zen tradition, you literally would have hit the adepts or the striving a deficit, please, his students. He could literally hit them with staff. I hit you with the staff. But anyway, this is a long-winded way of saying what I wanted to say is, I, me, mine. I, me, mine. I said I, me, mine. It's I, me, mine. I, me, mine. I, me, mine. And he said the only, if there is an answer, is don't know. It was very clear to eliminate the pronoun. It's not I don't know. It's don't know. Don't know. So liberating. And it also eliminates the egoic, it's post-egoic expression. Don't know. And many of you, if you say that, I like to say that out loud. Don't know. This overwhelming peace. What's the future hold? Don't know. Which implies, don't know implies the impossibility of ever knowing. If some of you believe that as you improve, as you advance, as you enhance your spiritual progression, that you'll be gifted with some kind of sight. And it's not beyond the realm of possibilities. If you can, good on you. But for me, it was more about the importance of learning that who cares? Don't know. Who cares? Bring it on. In the spirit of living in full equanimity, bring it on. And now that I've resolved my lifelong adventure of grasping clarity, of understanding even what clarity was, now that I know that clarity is simply knowing your purpose. Simply knowing your purpose. And our purpose is so simple, so ordinary to be in the realm of the mundane. The understanding of our purpose should never even come up. It's right. Our purpose is to be. Our purpose is wholeness. Our purpose is to embrace unity, to see, to look in your brother or sister's eye and see the unity, the sameness, the wholeness, that we're all simply expressions of divine in different stages of progress. Progression is a better word. In different stages of progression. We're all progressing at our own time. And we all really are all that can be. We just need to awaken to the universality, the brotherhood and sisterhood. We're in this together, folks. We're all expressions of the same divinity. And the individualization of divinity is a joy. The individuality. I talked earlier about recognizing that as individuals we have personality that turns out to have nothing to do with the ego. And the personality that we have but persists.